We are talking about a 2008 Honda CRV Power Steering hose replacement here. It's not so difficult, but hard to reach spaces to work in behind the engine. Think about placing a plastic trash bag with an old towel under the car to catch any fluid leakage. So the pressure sensor nut is 3/4 inch and the hose side is 17 millimeter. You can loosen the sensor and rotate it so you can view the clasp, and then you can release the electrical plug from the hose fitting. Slide 1 shows the pressure sensor removed and plugged with a rag. Slide 2 shows the sensor with the clasp detail so you can figure out how to release it, the electrical connector. Next, remove the two 10 millimeter bolts from the power steering pump fitting, and I plugged it so it wouldn't ooze out. Slide 3 shows the pump flange with the hose removed. Next, I removed the two 10 millimeter short bolts at each of the brackets along the rack assembly. Save the two metal brackets for transfer to the new hose. I recommend laying the old and new hoses next to each other to ensure that the correct orientation of the brackets before you install it. And it's almost very difficult to do behind the motor. Next, the rack end of the metal hose. The nut on the rack end of the hose is a 13/16 or 20.6 millimeters. Very limited space to apply enough pressure to free the nut. I cut the metal tube near the nut and used a cutoff wrench to break the nut free. I used a 1/2 inch socket extensions, several of them together, placed on top end of that cutoff wrench piece, and hit it with a hammer to knock that nut loose. I can show you the picture of the nut. It had plenty of corrosion, which is probably why it was pretty difficult to get off. Testing. Top up the fluid reservoir with power steering fluid. I would use Honda fluid. Make sure all the tools and rags are free of the engine areas. Block the back wheels so the vehicle cannot move, especially if you're on a hill. Jack up both front wheels and add safety blocks or jacks, allowing for the wheels to turn lock to lock. With the engine running, swing the wheels back and forth many times while monitoring the fluid levels. My system took a whole container of Honda fluid. Check for leaks and at all three of the affected hose locations. Now it's time for road testing.